Hello, and if you're a dog fan, you'll be so glad you stuck around for more Explore Tulsa. Now, CV, you told me you've had big dogs before, right?
Yep, had a couple of St. Bernards. I never trained them to do much though, but one of the funnest parts about having them was their bath time. Bathing them was like washing a car, and the kids from all over the neighborhood would come over to pet and play with them.
Well, then you're gonna appreciate dog lover and trainer Carol Minden. When she's not helping her husband run their restaurant, Michael V's, you'll usually find her having fun training her Bernese mountain dogs for their next competition.
I think the drive is the fact that you get so much personal satisfaction out of it. It's fun to see a dog that knows literally nothing about obedience and that doesn't walk well on a leash with you, and after 10 weeks by going to classes and practicing, they walk on a leash and do everything. When I grew up in Massachusetts, my family owned a resort and we lived on the resort, and we always had dogs. We actually always had a collie. A collie adopted us when I was a little girl, and of course Lassie was popular at the time, so a collie became our first dog. While I was going through high school, I started training in conformation and in obedience, and so I got hooked on it when I was in high school and just continued. I had to stop it through college and into my professional life, and then when I got married 31 years ago, the dogs became back into my life again, and since then I've just started growing and working with them and training them and doing all different kinds of things with them. The Bernese Mountain Dog is a Swiss breed. It comes from Bern, Switzerland, and they were mainly farm dogs that were used to draft, to pull carts and bring milk into town. Well, with training my dogs is something that is different every day, because I own a restaurant, so I work different shifts and I have time early in the morning to spend time with them, and we do a lot of road work and trotting, and just that kind of establishes our friendship and our relationship and getting them to listen to me and to be able to walk and run on leash. In the afternoon I have time between lunch and dinner shifts where I can work with them and I can do obedience. Obedience takes a couple minutes, can be done in the house, can be done in a training room, can be done outside, and then when I do agility, I'm lucky enough to have a husband who built me some agility contacts, and we have some jumps, and so I can just take a few minutes here and there and just work them. Plus I go to training classes, which is real important because that gives me that schoolroom atmosphere that requires you to go in and really concentrate on a serious training time. And going into competitions, it's one of those things when you show in obedience, rally, or agility, you get to work together as a team, and you only have a short period of time in the ring, and you go in there and you do what you've been training for, and when you're done and they're successful, the joy on your face and the joy on their face is just amazing. I mean, the look in their faces when they look at you as we're going over a jump or when we're doing something, you can tell they're doing it to make you happy, and it's a wonderful thing. So I like doing it for the bond that we have and for the things we get to accomplish as we go through it. I think the secret to taking care of dogs and getting them to train well has a lot to do with the partnership and the bond that you establish. So that from when they're puppies, you get to work with them and play with them every single day, and training really just can take just a couple minutes a day where you just reward them and you just have this feedback, and I find it incredibly easy to be able to communicate with them and get them to understand what I want them to do, and practice makes perfect. The conformation showing is definitely one that you have to work very hard for and work and keep going at it, because that is, to me, is kind of like gambling, because you go and you win and it's like, oh my gosh, it felt so good to win, because you're up against so much competition and you're competing against other dogs and other handlers. So when you win, it's such a cool thing that you want to do it again, and yet you lose probably more than you win, and so it's like, okay, I didn't do so good. So that's why I kind of prefer the performance part of it, because it's all on how you two do together in the ring that day. Judging in conformation is the judge is looking at the dog and comparing it to its breed standard, and every breed has its own standard, and they're supposed to take a look at the dog and how it moves and its conformation and structure and make their judgment based on the best dog that's in the ring that particular day. They're the love of my life. Other than my husband, of course, but it just is such a satisfying feeling to watch a dog come through and do what you want it to do, when you want it to do it. It's incredible. It's like the light goes on, and it's just the coolest thing to go through an exercise or a competition and know that you've done well together as a team. Because there's many times you'll go through and there's a screw up, usually the handler's fault, and it's not such a great day. But when you do it and you see the smile on their face when you come across the finish line, so to say, and your face, it's just an incredible warmth feeling.